Hey, Ty, are you ready to game?
When?
Now?
Now?
Now. Game now.
Sure. Game now. You've got FunFactor, two old gamers reviewing old video game magazine reviews. I'm Ty Shelter, he's Aidan Mower, and we're two professional writers who grew up loving the video games and video game magazines in the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s. Every episode, we take a critical look back on the games media that, for better and for worse, inspired us to do what we do. First, go to funfactorpod.com. Follow the show on your podcatcher of choice. Leave us a rating or review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your media. We'll read the best, kindest, funniest, and most insightful ones on the air in our letters section. Please consider becoming a member of FunFactor Ultra, our premium tiers that unlock ad-free episodes, bonus episodes, and the members-only channels of our Discord. Just go to funfactorpod.com, and I promise you, you cannot miss the sign-up widget on our homepage. Then, help us spread the word. Shout us out on Blue Sky at funfactorpod.com and everywhere else at funfactorpod.
So, Ty, this is going to spoil the flip through a little bit, but can you read me the letter from David McLeod on page 102 of this issue of GameNow? It's called Left Breathless.
Dear GameNow, I know a guy who's selling Breath of Fire, SNES, and Breath of Fire 3, PlayStation, for $35. Do you think I should buy them? David McLeod.
Ty, what a wild time. The cost of retro gaming, aside, $35, a loose cart of Breath of Fire 1 isn't much more than that even now. I just find it very amusing that David was able to write into a gaming magazine, wait weeks for a response, just hoping he'd get a response, period, before moving on his friends' games and be like, yes, I will buy those two bangers from you for $35.
Yeah, at best weeks, probably more like 2 or 3 months.
Months, right?
Yeah. That's
unreal.
Incredible.
Can you read GameNow's response there to him?
Yeah, sure. We called the guys at our local Funko Land, and they quoted a combined price of $32 for those games. Now that you know the going rate, you should probably use that number to knock a couple bucks off your buddy's asking price. Oh, boy.
I just, okay. Obviously, David should have jumped on that. Good deal. Great games. Breath of Fire, kind of mid. It's sort of like a SNES 1.1. Or sorry, NES 1.1 style RPG. It's okay. Breath of Fire 3, legit banger. It's so good. But this kind of brings us to today's discussion topic, Ty. Did you sell your games when you were younger?
Well, depending on younger, I definitely did sell my games as I was getting into in the Super Nintendo era, once I got a Super Nintendo. And also I would go and old games that I'd beat a million times and was done with, I would go and sell and try and roll up 2, 3, 4 to get half the price off a new game. You know what I mean? That kind of a thing. And then I would also
skin's crawling just thinking about it.
Yeah.
The asset management, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was at the time. I mean, they're 14, 15, 16. You're like, oh my gosh, I want this new Nintendo 64 game and it's $80. Here's 3 Super Nintendo and Nintendo games I don't really play anymore that can knock 40, 30, 20 bucks off that and make it a reality, right? And so yeah, then in some ways it made sense to me. And then sometimes I go, oh yeah, let me bust out my old games, and then staring at me are a bunch of cheap used games that I got later because I never had a chance to I just got them because they were there to be bought for like $2. And so I have the same number of games I always had, but half of them are games I barely played, and many of the ones I played a ton of I don't have anymore.
Right. Like I was and like still am loath to sell or trade in games. I don't even like trading magic cards like in a trade or for store credit. And there the economics can benefit you, right? Because you can trade in one card and get multiple cards, right? But that was never the way the game trade-ins worked, right? You were never getting like enough value. Like games typically were losing value once they were released. So like you had to trade in multiple to get a discount on one game. So like the math just wasn't even there, right? Like that's like diminishing returns.
Yeah, and I stopped doing that. I stopped doing that once we hit the like Dreamcast era, right? For the same reason where it's like
games got cheaper around then too, right?
Games
once we
got
into
cheaper,
the
and
discs.
everybody's doing the same thing of like, oh, let me trade in, last year's Madden. Okay, last year's Madden is $2 because everybody has last year's Madden and nobody wants it, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So like I have a large game collection because of that. Like I never sold or traded games. And it's not crazy. I'm not doing like YouTube, like gaming room tours of my collection. Right. It's not that big, but part of the reason that I have a pretty good collection is once I hit like 19, 20, I had a job and I would just like religiously go around looking for used trade-in games. At EB Games, I would go to video stores and they would like cycle through games, right? And so, once it wasn't getting rented anymore, they'd pop it in the discount bin and I'd go and buy it. So I got complete in box Pokemon Gold, Heart Gold with the like step counter. It's worth $300 now. And I got it for what, $19.99, something like that.
Yeah.
I have, I have Vagrant Story with a sticker for $14.99 on it. And so like, I like trade-ins.
Yeah.
But I never gave back to the used game scene. We definitely did like temporary trades in high school though. So like, one person had a game that I wanted to play. I had a game they wanted to play. So like I ended up with my copy of Robo-Trek or Slapstick because I swapped Legend of Dragoon with an older like student sort of friend who wanted to play that.
Sure.
And we just like never got around to returning each other's games though. So I still have Robo-Trek.
Nice.
He still has my copy of Legend of Dragoon, but I think I came out ahead on that one a little bit, considering the prices of games these days. But I think even back then I understood the concept of like value appreciation, right? Like and price appreciation for these things. And I was like, no, like it's going to be more expensive later to buy this.
Yeah, well, I was like also slightly burned by my experiences in the sports card and comic book collecting world, where, I was, 10 in 1991. And so like we had already reached the time where, but I know. And so like, boomer parents were already reading on the news, hey, everyone your age who kept their baseball cards and comic books is sitting on a fortune. Yeah. And so like, we were getting told, oh, keep all this stuff, everybody was going and buying, every new comic book's #1 and putting it in a bag and a sleeve and a board and, hermetically sealing it. And it's like, hey, guess what, guys? The reason this appreciated in value is because 99% of boomers read it and stuck it under their bed and got ruined and thrown out or whatever. Like there's not very many copies of them. That's why they're valuable. So just sitting on everything like a dragon hoard isn't going to work. And most times I'm a bit of a hoarder in that way. I don't like to part with things. I like to keep things. If I already spent money on something, I like to keep it, but it's not the same thing as when here you have a Funko Land that's like buy, sell, trade. Here's the new shiny thing you want. Here's our price list for the stuff that you have, and you can make your own decisions on it. And hey, as a kid with undiagnosed, untreated ADHD, the new shiny thing was a pretty hard pull. And so, there was that. I'm pretty sure I told in at least a bonus episode the story of what happened with my copy of Chrono Trigger, right?
Yes. Tell it again, though. I think that was a bonus episode.
Yeah. Okay. So, a friend of mine, one of my best friends in high school, was going into the Navy, and I love this guy in general. things got a little weird at this point, because he went into the Navy for no real reason, and then was kind of, hey, I'm going into the Navy. You never know. Like we
I'm gonna get rich.
No, it was more like, who knows when we'll see each other again.
Oh,
We have to
okay,
party,
gotcha,
constantly. And then like every time he'd come back on leave, it'd be like, we have to party every night for a week because I'm leaving and I'll never come back. And then he'd be back 5 months
Yeah.
later and be, hey, I'm back. So it's this weird thing. So he was going off to the Navy and he's like, Ty, you know how much Chrono Trigger means to me. And I know how much, how special and important this game is. That's why you need to sell me your copy of Chrono Trigger. And I was like, no. And he's like, yeah, no, but like I need Chrono Trigger for my own mental health and well-being while I'm off at the Navy, and you're my friend, so you have to sell me your copy of Chrono Trigger. And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to. And so I was looking on eBay, and eBay was going for about $100 at the time. And I was like sitting there going, I don't know what to do. Of course he was kind of expecting me to not charge him full price either. And I was complaining to a mutual friend of ours, and the mutual friend of ours worked at a video store at the time. He's like, dude, we got 4 copies of Chrono Trigger. I'll steal one and give it to you. And I was like, sure, cool, sounds great. So I took that copy of Chrono Trigger, wiped it, sold it to my friend for $80 instead of the like 104 I could have gotten on eBay. And then went, hey, here it is. Like, I know we both love this game so much. Here you go. And FYI, I wiped all my game saves. I just didn't. I didn't want you to have to worry about keeping it, and like I didn't want to have to worry about keeping. I understand. I'm okay. Cool. You're great. And so yeah. That's what happened. And
so you short sold.
Yeah.
You shorted the Chrono Trigger market for your buddy. That's very similar to how I got my copy of Chrono Trigger, actually. So I was headed off to the Navy, and my good friend had a copy of Chrono Trigger, and I said, hey, dude, I'm going off to the Navy. You need to say no. I just like the idea of like, that meme where it's like the tower of blocks and then there's the one little one at the bottom, and it's like, I just like the idea of like Chrono Trigger being that one like support pillar,
for real,
because that resonates with me, obviously. But that's fabulous. I love that story. It's so good, and like your friend probably still doesn't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know unless he listens to this. I don't know, but it's as far as I know, he was none the wiser.
Fabulous. Let's get to this magazine, Ty.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hang on. Before we open the cover and get into GameNow, I cannot wait. This is all new to me. I'm so excited. We do need to pay a couple of bills. So if you're not already a member of FunFactor Ultra, getting ad-free episodes, hang tight through the break. When we come back, we will flip through GameNow Volume 2, Issue 4, right here on FunFactor. Welcome back to FunFactor, where 2 old gamers review old video game magazine reviews. Of course, we want you to review us. Do we get a full 5.0 in FunFactor? Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, and we will read the best, funniest, kindest, and most entertaining ones on the air. Okay, Aidan, what is the deal with GameNow?
So today we're looking at Volume 2, Issue 4 of GameNow magazine. From what I can tell, the volume is sort of arbitrary. It just ticks over at the beginning of a new calendar year, whereas the issue numbers are like continuous. So January 2003 would be whatever, like issue 15, volume 3. I wasn't really very familiar with GameNow, or so I thought. Before I started researching for this episode, I specifically wanted to pick a magazine that I hadn't really read much of before. But if you look in the bottom little right corner, right under the barcode, this is formerly Expert Gamer. So GameNow is actually Expert Gamer, which was EGM2, an electronic gaming monthly spin-off. So this is like the third and final evolution of EGM2. We got Squirtle, War Turtle, and Blastoise, and we're at Blastoise now. And it's changed a lot, and we'll get into that through the flip through and later on. But the issue we're looking at today is 111 pages.
All right.
There are 19 games reviewed for 5 different systems, which is GameCube, Game Boy Advance, Xbox, PlayStation, and PlayStation 2. Once again, like a major standout during this era of games media is just how thin these magazines are getting.
Yeah.
Like at 111 pages, GameNow's like about a third the length of an issue of mid-90s EGM. Now, EGM was changing, right? They were getting rid of a lot of the stuff that we are going to find during the flip through in this magazine. And so being under that Ziff Davis umbrella, they were kind of like, you know, spinning off certain aspects of games media out of the main mags, I think, into stuff like GameNow. As I was searching for an issue to cover for this episode, like I said, GameNow stood out to me because, you know, I was like, what's GameNow? And then I opened the masthead and I was like, oh, I actually know all of these people. Oh, this is a Ziff Davis magazine. Of course I know all of these people. EGM2 spun off from Electronic Gaming Monthly as sort of a, I don't even know how to describe it. It kind of like focused on niche, smaller games, whereas EGM was focusing more on those big mainstream hits. EGM2 became Expert Gamer, which drifted even like further away from stuff like reviews, features, interviews, news, and became like really focused on like tips and tricks style emphasis on tips and tricks.
Okay.
This was headed by a lot of familiar names that we're going to see in the masthead, which I already mentioned. But GameNow sort of brought, so it went from EGM2 to Expert Gamer and now GameNow, bringing the magazine sort of back towards its origins again, reintroducing reviews, but kind of merging them with big like walkthroughs and strategy guides and codes and tips. It feels a lot like a magazine looking for a purpose, especially when kind of considered in context with the rise of the internet at the time. Like something like Expert Gamer was probably losing relevance because you could get all those codes online, or those tips or those strategies way before the issue came out. And so all of a sudden you had to look at like, hey, what can we offer as value for this physical magazine?
I'm thinking of, I just saw this past week on Blue Sky, somebody posted a GameFAQs poll of the day in like 2004 and also like last week. So, hey, like what age are you in age brackets? And like 70% of the site was like between 10 and 12 and 13 and 15 or something like that. And now it's all between like
it's all the same people,
and 45.
Right?
It's literally
like,
all the same people.
Yeah.
Literally
the
all the
is
same
just like
people.
A wave. Yeah.
That the whole time now still going back and like, oh, like let me get on GameFAQs and see that thing.
And
yeah.
I think what was happening, because I think that's a pretty sharp observation, because I think GameNow was maybe targeted to younger kids, like younger readers, the people who were reading EGM and Game Players like 7 or 8 years prior. They're growing up. EGM is like changing with them, right? Growing up a bit with them. Yes. I think GameNow was intended to sort of appeal to that next generation of gamer, who wasn't necessarily old enough to be interested in developer interviews or behind the scenes, you know, E3 press stuff, right? They wanted codes or strategies or whatever. And that's what I think, you know, Expert Gamer, but specifically GameNow's switch over to being like a magazine with previews and reviews and some news, but also all of those tips. The masthead appears all the way back at the magazine on page 109, sidling up to a preview of the next issue, along with previews of Ziff's other gaming mags, like Computer Gaming World, EGM, and OPM. I'm not going to flip all the way back there. I don't want to do like spoilers. But the masthead itself features like a lot of names that are going to come up over and over and over again this season, because Ziff was getting so big, right? And magazines from Ziff Davis was starting to dominate. We've got FunFactor Season 2 mainstay Simon Cox, who of course we've talked about on several episodes already. Fellow Brit John Davison, who would like really make his mark, at least with me, with oneup.com in a few years. We have Ethan Einhorn, who we spoke about a couple of episodes ago and is responsible for many of the world's worst games now. After leaving games media, he made a bunch of Sonic games. Phil Theobald, who I recently filled in for on the Player One podcast, which he co-hosts with Chris Johnston and FunFactor bestie Greg Seward, who might be in chat. I can't see chat right now, but he's often here watching us record. Editor-in-Chief Dan Leahy left games journalism not long after this, in 2002, pivoting to marketing and communication. He currently has a bunch of initials after his name on LinkedIn, which, like, I'm easily impressed. That impresses me. He's listed there as the, quote, executive director at Western DuPage Special Recreation Association. I don't know what any of those words mean, but it sounds impressive.
Yeah.
We've got the full-timers, but there were also contributing editors Gary Mollahan, Derek Collins, Kenneth, Slim Miller, and Shane Mangod Bettenhausen, who we can thank for those El Shaddai denim jeans that everybody loves.
I was looking up Shane Bettenhausen because I'm like, where do I know that from? But he's been with
He's been at Sony for a very long time now.
Yes, Ignition.
Notably, and we will, I'm sure, get to Shane Bettenhausen and Luke Smith and all of those guys in a later season. But Shane was, of course, a big part of OneUp.com and OneUp Yours, which was like the video game podcast that sort of figured it out before anyone else. But he was an unabashed Sony fanboy. And I've never been able to figure out if it was a bit, if he was in character or what, but he did end up working for Sony. So, and is responsible, I think, for a long time, he did like indie outreach. And so he was like working to bring a lot of really cool games, so like smaller indie studio games to PlayStation. Later in 2002, in November, Ziff actually moved its gaming magazines from Chicago, where this issue was made, to San Francisco. Only associate editors Phil Theobald and Ethan Einhorn made the move with the magazine. So later this year, almost an entire turnover of staff. But even in spite of this move, in spite of a major like stylish redesign to bring the look and feel of the magazine closer to EGM, GameNow folded after 27 issues. But many of the most familiar names like Cox and Davison, Theobald, Bettenhausen ended up moving on to continue to work at EGM and OneUp.com. Shane Bettenhausen ended up coming in-house despite being like a freelancer here on this issue.
Aiden did it.
At least once, right? We had to get that in there.
Have to do it.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for the My Perfect Console mention. Sure to come yet this episode.
Simon Cox episode My Perfect Console.
There we go.
And that we got into games media at the wrong time.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
But let's take a look at the magazine itself, because I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. It's time for the flip through. Ty.
Yes.
February 2002.
Oh.
We're going to ignore that you skipped ahead to summer 2002 in the last episode, because that was like a weird quarterly magazine. Doesn't count. February 2002. I have escaped January 2002. But only barely, because, man, this period of time was so jam-packed.
Yes.
Like, what have we covered? Final Fantasy X and Metal Gear Solid 2 and Halo. We didn't even get to, like, reviews of GTA 3. Yeah. Now we have Super Smash Bros. Melee on the cover of GameNow issue 4. Can you paint a word picture for our listeners of this cover, Ty?
I would be honored. So GameNow, we have the big, clean, sans serif, red, two slightly different shades of red for game and now is all capitalized. It's capital G, and again it's small caps, so there's no lowercase letters happening here. Game now, we have 4 colored dots which seem to correspond roughly to their invoking face buttons on a controller, right?
Yeah.
They're not the exact
specifically same. Super Famicom.
Yes, right. So, and then as a Super Smash Bros. Melee, cheat to win is text overlaid Super Smash Bros. Melee, unlock everything, special moves list, and then we have the whole 3D rendered Super Smash Bros. Melee cast. high quality render on a perfectly flat desert ground with a perfectly stock blue and white cloud sky, but all the polygons available went into this rendering of the Nintendo cast. And yeah, then of course a couple other things. Editors 2001 awards, over 3,000 cheats and tips for all systems. And Aiden, the more I look at this, the more I think
good.
you're right that this is attempting to target kind of
Yeah.
the underserved niche
Yeah.
that all the other games, by going up market with our age cohort, are leaving behind, right?
Yeah.
Like kids
I
that are
think so.
seeing this being like, oh my god, I want all the Smash Brothers moves, are not being like, I want sepia tone portraits of Peter Molyneux. Like that's just not
Yeah.
what they want. Yeah, right, exactly.
I think like to me, the cheat to win
Cheat to
and,
win
like,
is crazy.
like big bold yellow like impact font with a drop shadow over top the name of the game. Like obscuring Super Smash Bros. Melee. Like that sent me, Ty, but I think it tells you so much. This is such a departure from what we were seeing typically in these game mags. And I do think the redesign that they went through like in November of this year, so several months after this, but not too long, the covers didn't change too much. That vibe didn't change too much. It was more of an interior redesign, but I think they wanted to stand out and appeal to absolutely a different crowd than, OPM, EGM, and CGW. But let's start flipping through because there's a lot in this magazine that I think is worth looking. Flipping forward to page 6, we have like an image heavy table of content spread across 2 pages. There's like an editorial from EIC Dan Leahy with like nice line art and ink portrait. It looks great. But again, looking at this makes me think it was geared towards a younger audience. There's a big emphasis on pictures of games and a big emphasis on page number. So somebody can open this up, you immediately see Smash Bros, it's on page 52. So it's more about recognizing what game you want to read about than going through it in terms of like sections or, editorial purpose.
This reminds me, Aiden, years and years ago, there was a stand-up who had this routine that was on Comedy Central. I saw it a couple of times, but she was like, you ever go to Denny's and like you wonder why their menus are like mostly pictures? It's because Denny's caters to the super stupid and the totally wasted. And so like when they come to take your order, all you gotta do is be like,
yeah.
Like this is it. Like again, for kids, like there's Ice Climb 52. That's the Mega Man. That's Mega Man 79. I turned it to 79. Like that Crazy Taxi. That's Crazy Taxi. I know a taxi when I see one. I'm 9 years old. Turn to page 63.
I mean, who's not flipping to page 64 for Azuric after seeing that blue guy? But that's really interesting because like I was saying before the show, I was just traveling. I was in France for a bit, and I would go to restaurants solo, and I speak like a little bit of French just from being Canadian, but like I'd have to kind of like look at the menus and be like, I think I know what I'm ordering, but like a picture would have been like, oh yeah, that, and just point that pasta. Like,
okay, so I took French in high school.
Yeah,
there was every like 3 years or something, the French club would take a trip to France.
Yeah,
and my high school French teacher was like, yeah, like a couple trips ago, there's this like stand, like a one food stand type of place, and it was called Frosty, and it sounds like they basically sold Wendy's Frosties, right? But like, and so we had been talking about like verb subject order and stuff, right? And like adjective order, and she was like, yeah, so like student comes up as like, can chocolat frosty, and they're like, what? Like chocolat Frosty, like chocolat frosty, like what? I don't know what you say. I don't know. And like everybody's like, I have no idea what's going on. And then finally he's like, Frosty chocolat, and they're like, oh, of course, yeah, Frosty chocolat, oui, like let's go. So, like, oh boy,
amazing. Okay. Carrying on.
On page what?
This is like the most.
Seven.
This was supposed to be a quick episode,
7.
and it is nothing but non sequiturs. This is fabulous. I love it. We're gonna skip ahead to this. We're gonna skip past this page. It is weird. I think it's a preview. It has. Is it an editorial? I don't know. It's supposed to look like a comic book. What we're actually gonna hit up is news now, which is announcements, tidbits, and rumors. The main feature here, Rock'em Sock'em press releases, is kind of about how Sony hasn't had to worry about Nintendo or Microsoft so far, but they're gonna. One of them, that never really happened in hindsight. This whole, like, it's kind of like an op-ed. I don't even know, like, what it is.
It's just like never been more astounded than by the lead of this. I love the GameCube and Rock'em Sock'em press releases. GameCube, Xbox. When Joe Frazier knocked Muhammad Ali to the canvas late in the first of the pair's 3 fights, it was clear that Ali, fresh off his war-protesting exile, was going to have to deal with a serious title contender. Like, what the fuck is that lead?
Yeah.
What? I'm 9 years old. I turned to this page because there was a picture of cartoon, whoever that is, on it, right? Like, okay, all right, Ali Frazier, let's go.
And like, even if you know those two, Xbox versus GameCube was not Ali versus Frazier.
No.
You know, like, it's just bizarre. So strange. The next page, though, has a little feature about the launch of G4 video game TV network to launch. Did you watch a lot of G4, Ty?
Honestly, no.
Yeah.
We
didn't have it in Canada, so
we didn't have it in the dorms because I was in college at this time. And we didn't have the dorm cable package. Was not nearly as good as my home cable package.
Right. Yeah.
And then my home cable package stopped being so good because due to circumstances, my mom got married and moved out. I'm a reverse empty nester. So I actually moved back into my childhood home solo and had my like friends as roommates until I got married. And then we bought my childhood home from my mom.
Get out.
So then
is that where you are right now?
That's correct.
Get out.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So my mom always shelled out for the top cable package because she was a single lady whose friends are in the TV. This is an exaggeration. But like, you know, like both of us were big, huge media consumers. My mom actually worked in media advertising. So she worked at a TV station for a big chunk of my life, my young life. And so anyway, I didn't get G4 until I was too old and had too many kids to just sit around watching G4. So that's that story.
We didn't have G4 in Canada as far as I know, but we would get some of the shows here and there, like Attack of the Show I would watch sometimes. We had what else? It was like Electric Playground.
Oh,
is that on G4? That's a Canadian show, but in any case, I think G4 was a great idea. I think it was like sort of regretful, maybe in hindsight. And it's like role in creating the perception of like gamer culture was not great.
Yes.
But let's carry on because we have Spider-Man. Spider-Man peripherals.
Whoa.
Speaking of kids, there's a Spider Pad, which is a licensed Spider-Man PlayStation controller that kind of looks like his like hips.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No.
But it also looks better than most licensed controllers.
No, that controller looks really good. That is also definitely the crotch, hips, and upper thighs of his his costume, the Spider-Man action light rips.
It's so
Look
cool.
at that. Look at that
It's
thing.
so good. It's like you plug it into the link cable slot, like a regular light on a GBA, like the first generation GBA, but it's like Spider-Man. If you're not watching the video version, it's like Spider-Man is like holding up a light.
Yeah, and it's like
the
the
light of the
arms are like
screen.
straight out and then holding a light back down at the screen, which if you had a first generation GBA, as I did,
necessary.
you
It does look like it's two lights, which is an improvement over the ones that I had. But Ty, what I really need is for you to describe in the bottom right corner the quote X-Men multi-tap and DVD remote.
This is the most unhinged device I've ever seen. It's like what were those what were all the conferencing, like audio conferencing things every conference room had?
Just sitting in the middle of the table,
the like three-legged thing with the speaker and the button. So like picture that, except instead of a three-legged thing, it's a domed version of the Audi's X-Men logo, like the steel circle, and then rising from the middle are three sculpted heads, and it's Cyclops, Mystique, and is that supposed to be Wolverine?
That is Wolverine. It says in the description, and then Magneto is on the opposite side, which we cannot see in the photo.
And and it's a X-Men multi-tap and DVD remote for the PlayStation 2. I'm astonished. This is
so just let me read this description. Quote, look at this thing. Tell us that it's not the goofiest looking peripheral that you've ever seen. Regardless, X-Men fans should get a kick out of this PS2 multi-tap that doubles as a DVD remote control. For extra added goofiness, each of the four sculpted heads, Wolverine, Cyclops, Mystique, and Magneto, have light up eyes.
That was the gasp. I read ahead and I saw they all have light up eyes. I was like, what? What?
I feel like getting to design, like, your job is to like come up with these ideas and design these. Like, how does one become that? Like, what were the product design meetings that like led to the creation of this thing? You just would never get that anymore. And it's too bad. It's sick, and I want to buy one of those. If you are a FunFactor listener and supporter and have an X-Men multi-tap and DVD remote,
please let us know.
Slide in my DMs.
Join the Discord. DM us immediately.
Okay. Let's carry on. Fan month is the stereotypical, here's what's coming up. Here's the top 10 in the US, reader top 10, Japan top 10. Hot 3 of February, nothing too interesting there. We have news about modding your GameCube. I think it's interesting that you're starting to see like modding being acknowledged in the press, especially in something like GameNow, which we think is maybe geared towards younger players. Here we have Web Now, which is a section that looks at like gaming on the web. And the big kind of cutout taking up half the page is about Squaresoft launching Play Online, which, as we know, still exists. It's still sort of the underpinning thing for Final Fantasy 11 and 14. I love that they have a Final Fantasy 9 picture in there because, as anybody knows, the guide on the Play Online integration of Final Fantasy 9, I mean, that's a whole episode in and of itself.
It is.
There's an offer to play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 with the Ziff crew. You have to email them before January 30th. Keep in mind, this is the February 2002 issue. So you'd have to like get in there right away, probably. It probably came out, in January. You got a couple of weeks. Email them for a shot at challenging us online. Quote, if we pick your submission, we'll email you back with the date, time, info. Get to play with Ethan Einhorn and Todd Zuniga from Official PlayStation Magazine. But I also wanted to look at Site of the Month, which in February 2002 was awarded to Gamers.com. a Ziff Davis video game
Oh,
website.
man. Come
Uh,
on.
Surprisingly, gamers.com does not lead anywhere today. It's just a parked domain.
Huh.
Probably costs a lot of money. I tried to find it on Pork Bun, tried to find it on Namecheap, couldn't. But equivalent ones, Gamers.ai was $57,000 to register.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So gamers.com, like, it's got to be worth a chunk.
There's a Malaysian site that's been holding on to the lionsinwinter.com since my old
Yeah.
Lions website. I accidentally let that lapse like 6 years ago, and I've been kicking myself ever since. And I keep
There's
trying
gotta
to
be
snipe it.
some way to like, yeah. I
They
mean,
they
yeah.
keep renewing it. It's like $205.
Oh,
Like
it's,
if I
that's
just
not,
pony
yeah.
up, it's not that bad, but it's also
but
like
still on principle, it's
on principle. And also, when am I gonna
Yeah.
look at my kids and be like, no, you can't have that. Daddy needs his
Because
old
I need my
domain back,
old domain.
right?
Anyway, speaking of appreciating value, hands-on, starting on page 24, is the first review section in GameNow.
Oh,
It focuses specifically on handhelds. So it
Sure,
has a Game Boy
sure.
Advance and a Game Boy Color up in the header there. And mixes reviews and previews. Strangely enough, though, they use a different review format from the main reviews.
okay.
Yeah, so they
Huh.
score it with hands. 5 hands, from 1 to 5 hands, they call them.
They call them hands.
They call
They
them
do
hands.
call them hands. The hands are very clearly styled in the manner of a thumbs up.
A thumbs up.
That's what's
but they
being
call them
evoked.
hands.
One
So
hand is trash. 2 hands is worth a peek. Like literally, the rubric says hands.
Yeah, it's hands. So it's a 5-point review scale, different than the main one. Like you said, 1 is trash, 2 worth a peek, 3 is play it, 4 is excellent, 5 is a must buy. Would you believe it? But the highest scoring handheld game of the month in GameNow, February 2002, Alienators Evolution continues for the GBA. I bet you saw that coming. It got 4 hands out of 5.
4 hands.
Which means it is excellent.
What?
Actually, sorry, quote, it means it is, quote, excellent game.
Excellent game. Alienators is based on an animated TV series, which is in turn based on the craptacular comedy sci-fi movie Evolution. But don't let that stop you from playing it. Okay, great.
But like, and above that it says, quote, the name on the box reads Alienators Evolution Continues, but it really ought to say Kitty Contra, because that's what this game looks and plays like. And then I got the highest score. So like, it's funny how they're sort of disparaging it as a kiddie game, but then also scoring it high. I usually know most games. Like, there aren't many games that catch me by surprise and I go, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
Maybe haven't played it, but it's on my radar. I do not know what Alienators Evolution Continues is.
I cannot believe we have a licensed platformer movie tie-in for the Marky Mark Planet of the Apes made by Ubisoft exclusively for the Game Boy Advance.
Oh yeah, there we go on the next page. Yep.
Oh, buddy.
Here we have a pro snowboarding game for the Game Boy Advance from a guy named Sean, but it is not Sean White. It is Sean Palmer's pro snowboarder.
I immediately edited that in my brain to be Sean White.
Yeah, because I mean, it was always
because that
Sean
was the
White.
end at that time.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. So we're kicking off previews. American Bass Challenge.
So not
there's
American
this
Bass
really
Challenge.
good fishing game. Cast and Chill, which is excellent. This does not look excellent. Then we come to incoming. So this is where we're getting to previews of console games. Specifically console games, not handheld games. We have Time Splitters 2, Hurdy-Gurdy. If you remember Hurdy-Gurdy. I do not. Hop and Bop Fun meets Animal Husbandry.
What a pitch.
Oh, Eve of Extinction. Eric Lehman favorite Sonic Adventure 2.
Yes.
Unreal Championship, Bloodwake, Reckless, Jet Set Radio Future, the thing that stands out to me, this is a fairly straightforward preview section, but they have a power meter in the bottom corner. It goes from yellow, which is warm, orange in the middle, which is hot, and on fire, which is red. It's like a 9-point scale. Most of them, you won't be surprised to find out, top out in the hot section, because unlike reviews where you kind of have to like objectively like look at things and say, hey, we're going to cover this even though it's crappy because this is a review of its quality. Like, there's not really any reason to do previews of games you're not excited about, right? Or your readers aren't excited about. So like, why would you ever spend word count and page count on a game that's below hot?
Well, because this is why the scale goes from warm, hot to on fire.
I know, but like hurdy-gurdy got hot, right in the middle.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, you're never, because these specifically, it's not a rating system, so it's not saying, hey, we were really excited about this, but we played it and it's crappy. It's like how excited people are for it.
Yeah. I like the idea. I like the idea of going, oh, this looks good, or this looks meh.
But I don't think it's evaluative. I think it's meant to, like a hype meter.
Yeah,
but
it is.
Shouldn't you only cover stuff that's hyped up?
I mean, well, but like also we're talking about the same thing like we were talking about with like Carnage Heart, where the preview for Carnage Heart in like, was it Game Pro, where there's like 3 screenshots and like, yeah, we hope this one is a little more like action than simmy, because like the American audience likes action stuff. I'm like, zero clue what the actual game is about. So you get 3 screenshots and a couple of sentences from the publisher and you can go, oh, this looks sick or whatever, and you're excited. So I think they're trying to say, here's how we're how excited we are. And I think hurdy-gurdy might be the lowest. 2 bars into the 3 bars of hot.
Yeah. Bloodwake has the same. And then maxed out Jet Set Radio Future, which makes sense.
Yeah. So this is also 9. So now we're basically dealing, this is 9 marks, but we're also grading on the typical 1 to 10 scale shrunk down to 1 to 9, where nothing's getting lower than a 4 or a 5.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So. Because why would you, like, surely if a game is a 2 warm, you could use that space for something that's better.
Yes.
But in any case, moving on to the best and worst of 2001. We have covered a lot of these kind of top games of 2001 features on this season. We're not really going to look at the good stuff, right? No surprises there. But what I really liked about this are some of the other like tertiary awards that they've given out, because they're fun. They made me laugh. Our boy Shrek, which as we know looks better than Munch's Odyssey, captured the coveted worst movie to game award, beating out Casper, which won worst play control. I'm not looking it up. I'm just assuming this is related to the Casper movie.
Yes.
That came out at some point in the last 35 years.
Yes.
I assume they're both movies. Sonic Adventure 2 won.
What's his name? Devon Sawa?
Devon Sawa? He retweeted me once.
Oh, well, because he was the star of that Casper movie. Yeah. And that was...
nice hair.
That was... Yeah. Well, because that was my thing of, like, discovering that girls my age, freshman year, were also human beings with sex drives. Like, watching Casper in, like, band class. And, like, he appears, and half the class moans. Like, literally, like, oh! And I'm like, what is happening? Oh, my God. Like, he was in so many lockers, like, cutouts of him. That Casper movie was just...
Sonic Adventure 2 won biggest disappointment, which is wild. Because if you're expecting a good Sonic game, that is on you. I've never been disappointed by a Sonic game.
That's so
funny. My favorite, though, is Biggest System, which, of course, the Xbox One. Not Xbox One. Xbox One. Biggest System. I like how the Xbox is just so big that even back then people were like, man, this is big.
Gigantic.
This is like, what's going on here?
Yeah, there's also sorry, I scrolled away from it for a second. Worst new character, Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah.
Just when Solid Snake should be blowing stuff up, we have this little twerp mucking things up and start arguing with his girlfriend. Like, we're really overlapping the 2001 to 2002 here. It's very funny.
It's so good too, because the winner of biggest surprise is Metal Gear Solid 2's twist. We really don't want to say what Metal Gear Solid 2's big secret.
Also,
but suffice to say, we were pretty
character.
surprised.
Yeah,
It's like, come on, guys. Best Babe Riku from Final Fantasy X. You were a Riku fan, right?
Oh yeah.
Best gameplay moment, Halo, playing multiplayer. Not the pond scene from Final Fantasy X. It should have been that. That one was good. Not the naked cartwheels from Metal Gear Solid 2. Worst music game, NSYNC, Get to the Show for the GBC. I love how music games were big enough at that point that they got their own category.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Biggest system. All this. This is gonna be the biggest episode. If we don't get to the review, it is time to do what we do. Before that, we got to take one more break. Stick tight through the break if you are not a FunFactor Ultra member and already getting ad-free episodes. We will come right back and we will review GameNow's review of Super Smash Bros. Melee right here on FunFactor. All right, we are back, folks. We are having 5 stars out of 5 stars worth of fun today. And if you are to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, post a comment on YouTube, you can also rate and review Spotify, which I logged into that account for the first time in like a year. Thank you, friend of the show, Lord Drewby, for apparently listening to this on Spotify before we even had a live YouTube version and posting a rating and review. I don't know. That'd have been sitting there for Lord knows how long. Anyway, wherever it is, post a review, leave a rating, and that helps us with the engagement and the algorithm and get our words and sounds and everything else into your eyes and ears and everybody else's, because we love to do this and want to keep doing it for you. Help us spread the word. But now, all that stuff aside, it's time, and we have to review GameNow's review of Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Yes. The reviews in GameNow issue 4 start on page 51. If you'll remember, there's 111 pages in this magazine. So that's over halfway through, like less than halfway through that it starts. And there's kind of good reason for that, which we'll see in a moment. But it's because, as I mentioned earlier, given its background as EGM2, an expert gamer, the reviews are actually like hybrid criticism and game guide. So the review section is gigantic. It takes up a majority of the magazine. But the actual reviews themselves are kind of light, especially considering how big that section is. Here at the beginning of the Now Playing section, which is what they call the reviews, the score sheet breaks down GameNow's scoring like this. Quote, C is average, B is good, A is great, games receiving a D or F are poor and don't deserve your time. Which notably, 2 hands out of 5 was like worth maybe looking at, whereas here D is poor.
Yeah.
Interesting. They also have plus and minus. So A plus,
Sure.
A minus. Which, if I doing my math correctly, again, not my strong point, I think it's a 15-point scale. So they have a 5-point scale for handhelds, 15-point scale for console games. For some reason, the categories they rate are control, impact, lifespan, and extras. Those are very much not the categories that we often see.
Yes. Yeah.
Reviewed.
I'm sorry. I thought you were going to say these are actually not the categories that they score on. I'm like, wow, we're going way off. They don't
like individually give scores for each of these categories, but impact is like graphics and sound, control is control. Lifespan would be like replay value. And what do they say? Extras is like extra game modes, online play, special cheats, levels.
I am drawn to this. I at least like the attempt.
Are you drawn to it like the same way that I like kind of want to look at the sun? Is that like
I like you know, because we're starting to move from Aidan away from the game players. Okay, we have 7 categories. We have 8 categories. We are going to give a 10-point score in all of these categories. And we're hey, let's instead of hyper granulating this, let's try and bring it back towards something that like makes some sense. And I think impact is kind of a dumb word, but like control, lifespan, like, because you know there are usually gestures at like replay value, right?
Yeah, we
but,
would
like,
call it value now, probably.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like, but like lifespan, like how much play are you gonna get out of this? How much fun are you gonna have out of it? How long are you gonna be like, I'm still getting use out of this? I like the idea. I'm not sure about the execution.
I think too, like lifespan for me hits different when I'm 42 than 2002 when I was like 19 or whatever, or 18, because like I don't necessarily like long lifespan isn't like a selling point for me anymore. If anything, it like turns me off of playing the game, right? Some of my favorite games, mixtape I played when it came out a few weeks ago, it's like 3 hours long.
Yes.
And it's one of my favorite games of all time. I love it dearly.
Yeah, we're doing our family run through of blueprints now.
Yeah.
We're up into like hour 64, 65.
Yeah.
And
that was a
all of us
120 hour game for me.
Yeah. And we're just like, bro, like, okay. Like we're getting there, but we're like, it's we could get to the finish line anytime. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like, and blueprints I played before it came out, so I didn't know that it was that as long as it was also. And of course, blueprints you could play for 15 hours, get to like the end, quote unquote, feel satisfied that you kind of beat the puzzle aspect of the game and not delve into its like meta narrative. So it could kind of go both ways. But I look at other games, like I just played Hollow Knight, and it's 40 hours long. I think it took me 44 hours.
I'll say
almost
Tears of the Kingdom. When they announced Tears of the Kingdom as a 120-hour game, I posted a bunch of crying emojis and said, I can't play this. I'm not going to play this. I did play it, but I tapped out around 50, 60 hours because I was like, I just can't. Like, I could play this forever.
I did the same thing. I played about 50 hours and then put it down.
I was like, I could play this like Genshin Impact. I could play this like a gacha game. I could spend the next 6 months putting 200, 300, 400 hours into this.
Yeah, I mean,
and like, why?
Yeah,
like why?
But you also play like Musi or whatever, that horse game. Isn't
yes,
that a gacha
I do.
Game? Like, I falling into the trap of like easy to pick up forever games is also bad.
I think. But you can play. You know, you can play that for 10. You can play that. You can play Musume for like 60 seconds if you want.
Right.
You can't play Tears of the Kingdom for like any small amount, like bite-sized amount of time. It's just not possible.
Yeah. But when you got 2 games a year, you wanted to, get something that was going to last you. And I think, again, coming back to looking at what the audience was for this magazine, I think we continue to see clues that it was probably for that younger audience, trying to get like new to video games, like sort of like newly passionate video game fans, right?
Yes.
And they're gonna like love this kind of stuff. They don't even need to know what graphics are or whatever. So I do like the abstraction now that like we've kind of talked it through. I don't like the words that they picked. I feel like it almost would have worked better as like a grab bag of like badges or awards or something for a magazine or for a game. Like it would have gotten lifespan and impact and control or whatever, because it has like, rather than a scoring matrix. But they try to be clear. There's also the now rated thing at the bottom here. It says, quote, once we thoroughly played a 100% version of the game, we'll give it our final now rated raid. Um,
So
so they're talking probably because they were doing a lot of like strategy and stuff. I bet they were playing early builds.
Sure.
And so that means they probably weren't really able to
Yeah, we had that. What was that one magazine? I think this is an episode I did too, so I did the research for it. But they had it. They're like, yeah, cool. We're mixing our previews and our reviews,
yeah.
and we'll give you like 90% of a review, but until they tell us it's final, we won't slap
Then we
the
can't
score
like
on
give
it.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, I guess.
Strange times. And like optical media meant it was easier to do some of that stuff, I think.
Sure.
And send out early builds. I mean, like famously there was that Jaguar CD, I think it was a Jaguar CD game, Fight for Life.
Oh, Fight for Life.
Where, yeah. Where like the press was accidentally sent an early build and told it was a review build. And so it got like awful scores. I don't know if the end product was any good, but yeah, it's interesting times at any rate. Now, whoop. I'm going to just very quickly skip past the Super Smash Brothers Melee review just so we can look at some of the other stuff here in the magazine. We have Crazy Taxi on the GameCube, Azuric, Rise of Parathia.
Sure, those are words.
For the Xbox, got a D-. Not good. Star Wars Obi-Wan. Here we've got the Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty review. That artwork, like Solid Snake, is interesting. That can't be. I don't think that was art from the game. That looks like a PSM cover.
I literally was gonna say, I think that's the same artist. I would say that's the same artist PSM used.
Yeah,
it really looks PSM,
almost certainly,
but it can't be because PSM.
I know, different.
Yeah, I don't know. That asset just looks very, very PSM to me.
Yes, big time. Yeah, so we've got, 007 Agent Under Fire, ESPN, NFL Primetime, Game Day 2002, Giants, Citizen Kabuto, which was one of those games that I thought looked really cool in screenshots. Parappa the Rapper 2, Rez. I almost did Rez this episode. Have you played Rez?
I haven't. Sorry, I'm also.
Oh no, you should hunt down. There was like a remake on like Xbox 360 or PS3 or 4 or something. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Good game.
No, I know
Mega Man
it's well regarded.
X6.
I'm still wincing at the C- for ESPN NFL Primetime, which, as we discussed last episode, lost Konami the ESPN license.
Yeah.
And then NFL Game Day 2002 from 989 Studios gets a D, which, considering 3 or 4 years earlier, Game Day was considered a clear favorite over Madden on the PlayStation. Long way to fall.
I love the pros for them too. So the pros for ESPN, real NFL players, ESPN license, the game loads fine. And then pros for Game Day, better than last year's Game Day.
Oh no.
Had a D. Decent animations. Big hits. Yikes. But let's get to the juice. Let's get to the good stuff. Because the Super Smash Brothers
Rapper 2. No, okay,
Melee. The Super Smash Bros. Melee review is humongous. It's like 8 pages.
I'm astonished. I'm scrolling and scrolling. There's so much more of it than I could ever imagine.
7 of those are basically just a strategy guide. And so you have the move set complete with like damage output ranges for every character in the game. And then you have these sidebars that are about like unlocking secrets, or you have like a little like, who's Mr. Game & Watch? Like, who's this strange guy? So it's kind of like a feature on the game. It's also cheats. It's also strategy. But it takes up 7 of the 8 pages. It's huge, which is neat, but it's also like Smash is like you press a direction, you press a button, and it does the move too. So it's like, Aiden,
it's
a weird, like,
weird. It is weird. Aiden, can you go one more page, and then I don't know if you can zoom in on Ness. Ness's moveset. Forward more. Sorry. There. Okay, if we can zoom in on Ness's description. That looks kind of like butt on my stream. There we go. Okay, no, that's fine. Okay, good. Okay, so the happy little kid from Earthbound returns, and he's brought his baseball bat with him. Use that bat to smack your enemies around. I didn't know the word kerning. I didn't even know the word
Yeah.
justification.
Uh-huh.
All I knew was sometimes I'd be reading a magazine and the most insane shit would happen to the letters.
Yeah. Like
Look at this.
happy.
The happy, like the
Yeah.
spacing on happy is so much tighter than all the rest of the text, comma, big space, little kid from Earthbound returns and he's brought his baseball. Like, and
Well,
then
happy is also
Earthbound.
italicized, right?
Right.
And there's
Well, it's
a huge.
all
Yeah.
italicized except for Earthbound because Earthbound's a title, so they
Oh,
de-italicized it. But the italics don't
yeah.
even look consistent. Some of the letters look
No.
more italicized than others. I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on here. This
Huh.
happened all the time in old magazines, and I was never sure what was going on with that.
Because like sometimes you like in print, you're messing with the kerning so that you don't get orphans or widows and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
like in that first line in that bio, that's the second shortest line. So like you could have had happy kern perfectly normally, and it would have had more than enough space. So probably like a last minute rewrite or something. So after 7 pages of like strategy and move sets and secret stages, we get to the actual review. But even that page, half of it is taken up with a sidebar about how to unlock secret characters in the game. And so in this review, the whole review is actually like maybe 200 words at the bottom of the final page, and then a sidebar labeled pros and cons. What's your experience with Smash Bros, Ty, and specifically Melee?
My experience with Smash Bros, and specifically Melee, is 0. I didn't play any Smash Bros until Ultimate
Okay.
on Wii. Wii,
Yeah.
Switch. Oh my god. Wow. Brain. Okay.
Brawl
so,
was on Wii.
yeah, no. I didn't play any Smash Bros until Ultimate on Switch. And that unlocked something in my son. And he went back and started getting into Smash Bros and then found out, oh, like cool kids for Smash Bros play Melee. Also,
Yeah.
I believe he had a high school teacher who was into Melee and
Okay.
encouraged kids to be in and hosted a Melee tournament with GameCubes and TVs. And that really hooked my son on Melee also. And so he went down like a big old Melee rabbit hole, like
Yeah.
sophomore, junior year of high school. And he started playing on emulators online. He got the box controller. It's a big hardware programmable controller. He actually just recently did a big like firmware mod hack and then screwed up the firmware and then ended up doing like a Discord
Yeah.
session with like
Been there.
the person who developed the mod for the firmware,
Yeah.
like go through this whole thing. And then he started going to, he's been to some locals, the campus here,
Oh,
Michigan
nice.
State, so he's been he keeps playing Melee. He's big into it,
Okay.
follows
Who's
streamers.
his main?
He's gone back and forth between Falco and Captain Falcon. I think he's back on
Okay.
Falco. So
Falcon Punch.
yeah, I think Falco is where he's at.
Nice. Yeah.
But he's dabbled in like a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
And he showed me some of his favorite streamers and stuff, and that was a COVID thing too, because that was kind of right at that
Yeah.
same time with COVID.
Yeah.
And so we got into watching. He was playing Rainbow Six too, so like I got into watching some Melee streamers and some Melee tournaments, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is really cool, But,
Yeah,
I never did any of it, and so
You never-
that's
yes,
fascinating.
But that's also like there are so many people whose experience with video games and games culture is just through like watching other people play, right?
Yes.
Like let's plays and streamers and stuff like that. And I was talking to somebody recently, can't even remember who, but like they just brought up like, oh no, they were talking about Pokemon card game and how lots of people watch, like kids will watch their favorite players stream playing Pokemon, right? Card game, and some people, like a lot of people, just don't get it, why that's appealing and why aren't you doing something better with your time and stuff. But I find that it's just a different way to engage with content, like, and not content like capital C hashtag content, but just like different way to engage and consume something.
Sure.
And I obviously I stream on the FunFactor Twitch page, and I enjoy doing that, and the community aspect of it is something that I don't think people can understand necessarily until they're part of it as well. And it's cool, like for you as a dad to be able to enjoy your son's like community and fandom in a way that supports them. Like, I just think
Yes.
that's pretty cool.
It is cool.
I played a lot of Melee, never competitively, mostly against like my brother and stuff like that. But that's the Smash game that I've played the most of by far. And I liked it, and the review touches on this a bit, but I liked it because there was so much crunchy stuff to do a single player that you were always able to pick it up for a little bit, and it wasn't just about that like competitive element, multiplayer element. You could get in there and just do all the extra stuff, right? And that's sort of become part and parcel with what's the guy, Sakurai's game design methodology, and Kirby Air Riders is the same way, and I think that's pretty fun, and just the novelty of getting to fight as Mario against Samus or whatever is cool. Like, it was silly and fun, and that Nintendo was the first one to sort of do it and pull it off. Is exciting, and I think it really unlocked sort of the Nintendo verse as like an IP, and we're seeing Star Fox crossing over with Mario now in the movie, you know, like Fox McCloud being in the Mario movie. I feel like it all harkens back to Smash Bros. You know, the resurgence of Fire Emblem and the popularization of Fire Emblem in the West, like in North America, like that is because of Smash, right? Roy and Marth being in Melee is why Fire Emblem exists the way it does now. And I think that's pretty great. This review here is from Phil Theobald. And the review starts off by looking at the Nintendo 64 Smash Bros, which I didn't play a lot of. I've played since, but at the time that was like my brother was really into it, but I didn't really, it kind of passed me by. Can you read Phil's opening paragraphs for me, Ty?
When the original Super Smash Bros. Was released for the N64, I was instantly hooked. Not only was the novelty of pitting Mario in a fight against Link a blast, but the game played incredibly well to boot. As deeply as I loved the game, however, I still couldn't shake the feeling that it was more of a multiplayer game. The single-player mode was definitely lacking. Nintendo must have heard that complaint a lot, because the GameCube sequel to Smash Bros. Is just as much fun to play, even when you don't have a bunch of your friends over. What makes the game so entertaining for the single player is that there's just so much to do.
So he's echoing a lot of what I just said about why I think Melee was the one that I really got into compared to the N64 one. And didn't really, you know, I played the Wii one. I actually played the 3DS one. But just the inclusion of all of that extra stuff that gave it structure was really appealing to me. And I think that Theobald's pretty spot on here in his assessment of how that single player expansion helped the series blow up compared to its, you know, it was popular on the N64. It became like dynamite on the GameCube. But like, what really stands out to me about the writing in this review is how bloggy it all feels. Ziff Davis was behind a lot of the personality driven boom in games media, like in the early to mid noughts, but it's not like, for some reason, it's not really working for me here compared to the way it did like on 1UP. Last episode we talked about that great World Series baseball review, and how it didn't really like focus too much on how the game was played, but more about the feeling and emotion of playing it.
Yes.
And this kind of feels like the opposite to me. It's like describing how the game is in a way that it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't feel like I learn or know more about the game after reading this review compared to when I started. So in the pros and cons section, there's a sidebar that, as we talked about earlier, talks about pros and cons. Pros, it plays great, which is like, that's just generic language. What does plays great mean? What does that feel? Why do you feel like you're the character? Do you feel like each character is differentiated itself enough? Like, fantastic multiplayer options, lots of secret stuff to unlock. I just feel like it's very vague. Minuses or the cons or action might be too hectic for some, which I think is probably true, but I think ultimately that is the strength of those games, is that people play them and it's not about precision. For a lot of people, once you get obviously into like competitive, it's very different, but for casual players, you can get in there and feel like you're part of the action and making an impact because of how hectic it is.
Yeah, well, and
And
this is also the ongoing complaint. The reason
yeah,
Melee still is the most popular Smash game in the
yeah,
fighting game community is because it's fast enough and technical enough and
yeah,
crunchy enough
yeah,
that you can get really, really good at it.
yes,
And then later games, and especially Ultimate is very fun to play, and
yeah,
anybody can jump in and play, and it looks great and it feels great, but it's so floaty and the delay is so
right,
much that
yeah,
there's just that low skill ceiling where there's only so actually good you can get
right,
at it. And the Melee getting opening the doors to this path of like you can get competitively good at it is unusual for Nintendo, and so
yeah.
unusual that they would end up not doing it again.
I feel like we didn't even know,
No,
like,
not at this time. I don't think people understood how different
how
this was.
technically not
Yeah.
even complex isn't the right word, but just precise and refined and considered this
Yes.
game was. Like, the fact that Melee is the way it is, like, I don't even, was it even intentional? Like,
Well, and
to
there's
make
a
it
bunch of evidence,
what it
like
is.
a hardcore fighting game community pouring all of their attention onto this game and just absolutely deconstructing this down to the atom.
Yeah.
I know my son has watched like hours long YouTube videos on how like Donkey Kong's tie somehow counts as part of his hitbox. And
Right.
like,
Yeah.
there's in this when this character does this move, there's a glitch where there's a 2-frame delay. And so you
Yeah.
can, whatever, right? Like all
Yeah.
these super, super, super technical and you get this impression that this game is this
It's on.
bug-ridden mess. Like
Yeah.
absolutely, if you listen to people, but it's only because well, if you pick any game from 2001 or
Yeah.
2002 and pick it to absolute pieces, Ocarina of Time, many people consider it a masterpiece. Speedrunners cracked that thing wide
Yeah.
open, right?
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
so many whole Mario. We've talked over and over Mario 64, right? Like there's so many ludicrous glitches in that game and cut content and everything else. So
Yeah.
like yeah, that it's because it was so precise and so well crafted that people then even bothered to dig into every little tiny nook and cranny.
Yeah. And like, I don't think that you can design a game necessarily at that level that's not like super iterative, like long running fighting game franchises. Maybe you're getting into like that minutia, but like I don't think Sakurai was sitting down and necessarily like intentionally balancing the game around Donkey Kong's tie, right?
Right, yeah.
But there was, there's also magic juice that's going on, and it just kind of comes together and works. Like, my dad is a playwright and a journalist, and some of his plays are taught at the college level. And he once saw like an exam about one of his plays. And he was reading the questions. He was like, "What? I don't know. I never thought of that. Like, I've never considered. I've never even I couldn't even answer this question." And like, I wonder how much of like Melee's kind of brilliance is not accidental, but like almost like I don't even know what the word. It's like not intentional, but
right place, right time, or like
right place, right time, but also just like having good people, instinctual.
Yes.
Like having the right people in there working on it. Whereas like the best stuff happens without you even intending it.
Serendipity?
Or like serendipitous. Yeah. Like, I don't know. But anyway, that was one tiny little con for Super Smash Brothers Melee. The next one is that awful DK rap. Which I think misses the point of the series because it's all about ephemera, right? It's all about deep cuts and stuff like that. But I can look past that. He gives, some little rundowns about the control, impact, lifespan, and extras. Lifespan, notably, he says, even if you do manage to collect all the trophies, you and your friends could still play the multiplayer battles forever. Spot on. It's like there are games like Doom, there are games like Super Smash Bros. Melee that just will last forever. Not being forever games, like Fortnite or Roblox, but just ones that are so sort of like perfectly created and with the community to support them forever. Now he wraps up the now rated, or the pros and cons now rated sidebar, by giving it an A+, which I think is the right score.
Yeah.
Theobald says, though, as a little blurb, like justifying the A+, he says, quote, "I spent a lot of time trying to think of a reason not to give this game our perfect score. After hours upon hours of playing, I couldn't come up with a better one." End quote. I think this touches a bit like on a topic we've discussed in the past, and how
it does.
how review scales need to be used. An A+ or 10 out of 10 cannot be reserved for perfection. Otherwise, it'll never be used. So then it's not a point on your scale. Then 9 is the top of your scale. But if you can't use the top of your scale, you can't use a 9. I don't think A+, 10 out of 10 needs to mean perfect, just that it sits in that upper echelon of culture. Not just video games, books, movies, anything, right? It just sits in and belongs in that tier of the other greats, right? I'm a little turned off by Theobald talking about spending hours trying to figure out how to give this game a lower score.
Yeah.
With hindsight, like, Melee is undoubtedly an A+ game. It's one of the all-time greats, one of the most influential games of all time. I think the idea that there's like journalistic integrity or independence or critical thought that's compromised by giving top marks is just sort of a dangerous way of thinking. I think it's just as bad as I think this idea that subjectivity is bad is bad.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I on one hand I understand, because you want to protect, you want to protect against score creep, grade inflation, right? You want to say, hey, like when we say this is a perfect game, you want that to mean something. And we've talked before about how Next Generation had such a clear rubric for their 5-point system, and even then it was something where you can kind of seesaw. I remember, I think Fighters Megamix got a 5-star grade from them, and I was like, Fighters Megamix, the fighting game that is literally a remix of all of Sega's other fighting games.
You can fight as a Daytona car, Ty.
Is revolutionary. Brilliant and flawless, a new high watermark. Like revolutionary? Fighters Megamix is revolutionary. If I already own the first and second printing of Virtua Fighter for the Sega Saturn, I already own Fighting Vipers. You're telling me Fighters Megamix is somehow a fight? You know what I mean? So it's like you want to guard against that. You want to protect that. You want that your word to mean something. But I think this is even more about, even in this magazine, that not explicitly, but we can kind of tell from the creative and editorial output, is targeted towards a younger audience, is trying to grab kids that are not reading Next Generation, that are not buying Intelligent Gamer. I mean, why did they rebrand the magazine from Expert Gamer? If you're 12 and you just want to know how to get Jigglypuff in Smash Bros, you're not an expert gamer. You don't think of yourself an expert gamer. You want to play games now. That's why it's GameNow. So I get that, right? But even so, but you still have these are grown, mostly men, going, grown adults going, oh man, can we really give Nintendo a perfect score for just smashing all their IP together in a box? And okay, I guess, right? Like here you go. Are you a Nintendo super fan? Here's the dream thing you wanted to see: Mario versus Link in a fight. Like, can we give that a perfect score? I can see how that can be an editorial discussion. At the same time,
Yeah.
history proves this
Yeah.
game is this banger. It
Yeah.
slaps. It
Yeah.
absolutely is worthy as a highest score as you want to give it, and they gave it an A plus. You know, they came to the right conclusion ultimately, right? And so you go, okay, like
Yeah.
I think it's
So
worth having the conversation, but I think they landed in the right place.
so like I think that's a good point because Metal Gear Solid 2 also got an A plus, which I think is the right score. Ethan Einhorn in the Now Rated section says, quote, producer director Hideo Kojima is one of the world's greatest video game developers, and Metal Gear Solid 2 is his undeniable masterpiece. You simply have to play it.
Mm.
No
Mm.
equivocation.
Right, yes.
In fact, it's
Yes.
just sort of slobbering in its
Yes.
praise. I would say that Metal Gear Solid 2 is a far more flawed game than Melee. Has held up. I mean, obviously, Metal Gear Solid 2 has held up quite well, but Melee has held up. Melee is in like Doom territory of holding up,
Yes. Yes.
right? But there's no equivocation here. And I
Yeah.
think you're kind of coming back to the same thing. Did Ethan sit there going, man, I want to give this an A plus, but I don't think I can.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, like, why not? Like, why? And I think you're right. That is like, am I really going to give our top score to this silly fighting game? And, you know,
because it's not it's not
not
gritty.
yeah.
It's childish. It's not gritty.
Yeah.
It's not what we think all the gamers want. It's
Yeah.
not pandering to the meta. It's not pandering to the mainstream consensus
Yeah.
at this time of what the audience is looking for. But actually, it is exactly what the audience is looking for. It's
Yeah.
giving the audience what they didn't even know they wanted, what they wouldn't even be able to dream it was possible before the original for N64, right? And so you're going, all right, cool. Like, we're taking the thing that was a weird one-off, and we're making it a real thing, and people are really going to respond to it. So they're fighting ghosts here. They're fighting
Yeah.
their own perception of how
What do you
people will perceive them.
What do you think about that making up the text of the review? Because
Okay.
I think like where I'm ultimately left a little unsettled is great that he went through the thought process.
Yes.
But I don't think it makes for an interesting review to me. If it's part of what makes it feel bloggy in a way that I don't think really works here. Of him, like, it's very navel gazing.
Bloggy
right?
is right, and this is something that I learned a little bit early on when I was transitioning from blogging, as I mentioned before, into professional writing, like immediately, is when you're blogging, a lot of times if you're untrained as a nonfiction writer, you know, you were a good writer in high school, you know, people told you should be a writer, right? And you sit down and you open up and you start writing and you start using some of the same techniques that you're taught in school. You're like, oh, well, you should anticipate the argument, right? You should leave room to be wrong. You should, you know, use your I words and, like, you know, couch things in certain terms, and you should go, oh, well, I might be wrong because of X, Y, and Z, or, oh, I can hear you saying, but Ty, shouldn't it be like this? You know, and you should include that, and it makes it stronger. But from a critical perspective and from a journalistic perspective, you know, one of the first things that really resonated with me with my good friend Michael Shoddy was one of the first people that edited me at Bleacher Report. And he's like, it says by Ty Shalter at the top.
Yeah.
You don't have to put I think to start every sentence.
You have given me that note. 700 times.
Yeah.
Like you've written that exact note on my drafts more times than I can count.
Say the thing you want to say. Let it stand for itself. Let it speak
your name
for
is
itself.
your name is on there.
Yeah.
You don't have to justify your opinion. You have to make your argument. You have to be clear in the, you know, what you are saying. You know, convicted in what you're saying. Right. But you don't need to couch. You don't need to say that, like,
you know, if you're sitting here going, I racked my brain for hours or days or weeks or whatever, trying to, like, not give this a perfect score. Don't just say, like, you can just flip that around to, like, this game is bulletproof. Like,
Yeah.
the flaws you're looking for
Yeah.
don't exist.
Yeah.
You know, you can even
Exactly.
you can acknowledge, you can, if you want to anticipate an argument against it,
Mhm.
then make the case
Yes.
against the
Exactly. Switch
argument.
that perspective.
Don't say that the argument
Yes.
against it is valid. Say, here's why
Yes.
the argument against it is
Yeah.
invalid.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think that you can you have so little space here that I think that
yeah.
like the now rated section is like, that's the back of the box
You
quote,
have-
right? That's the elevator pitch for
You
the
have
review.
1/3 of one page effectively on an 8-page section to actually
Yeah.
write your actual review.
Yeah. So like, go for it.
Yeah.
Talk about that feeling of like playing this upgraded version of the game that you loved already on the Nintendo 64, and like talk about it from its emotional perspective and say like, you know, even if you want to be like, hey, like I can't believe I'm giving this A+, it's like you couch it from the perspective of like, you know, as a critic, you know, I have to be careful, you know, becoming too emotionally attached to a game I'm reviewing to make sure that I'm not whatever. Like, you know, there's so many ways to couch this.
Yeah.
Or not couch this, but like frame this in a way that is more sort of like critically insightful, I think, into the process and into the goals of the game.
You know, no one was more surprised than me
Yeah.
to sit down and play this game and be stunned by it. Right.
Yeah.
Like I played the N64 version, and that was cool. This is a different thing, like there are ways to approach that for sure.
Yeah. Taking like, you know, the N64 version, you know, was an amazing introduction to this idea, but this is, you know, an expansion upon that puts it into the realm of, you know, the other top end games, you know. Like, there are just ways to acknowledge that, like, yeah, this is a weird, funny, silly fighting game with Nintendo characters, but it still 100% deserves that A, the same way they're doing with the Metal Gear Solid 2, right? He just says Hideo Kojima is one of the greatest video game makers of all time. Guess what? Sakurai is too, right? And there's no reason that one should have sort of waffling equivocation and the other should just be like flat out saying, you know, what they feel. And I wish we had seen that here. I wish there had been more confidence to call that shot and say, this is one of the greatest fighting games of all time. You know, he gets around in lifespan. It says friends could still play the multiplayer battles forever.
I'm sorry.
What?
Official Xbox magazine had no problem calling Dead or Alive 3
the greatest
big
3D fighting game of all time.
The greatest fighting game of all time.
Yeah. If you do some research, and it is necessary in every aspect of game development to do research, you will see that breasts really don't rotate this way. Oh, excuse me.
Why could GameNow not go, Melee is the greatest fighting game of all time? Like, why could you not take that swing? Why are you embarrassed to say that about Smash Brothers, but not about Dead or Alive?
Yes, exactly. And like, which is fine for a blog, right? And like, not disparaging blogs. My background is as a blogger. I spent years as a blogger. It opened a lot of doors for me. I learned a lot. You started your career as a blogger. Like,
absolutely, I did.
Blogging is a fabulous like platform for criticism, but I just don't think that that's what this is, especially when I'm looking at it compared to other reviews in this issue of this magazine.
Yeah. I'm going to say, Aidan, okay.
Yeah.
We need to score this thing and wrap this episode up. But I'm going to say, taken as a whole, and I'm going to say, I am scrolling. Here's the 7 pages of not review. This is an exhaustive move list with precise damage percentage of every single freaking move.
Mr. Schulter.
Yeah.
Where they provided a spreadsheet with this information.
Presumably. I don't know.
So like.
Yeah.
And then they're just reprinting it. And then like beautiful design.
Right.
But like.
I'm just saying this is the kind of stuff that you, as we were richly discussing in chat with Quabile and others, you know, this is the kind of stuff that you would go to GameFAQs for, right? And hope it was accurate and hope it was there. and it might not
Yeah.
be. Here's your spreadsheet with like every character, every move, every name, every damage percentage. That's cool. Again, it's not part of the review, but like, I don't know. It's just something that if I were this magazine's target audience, I would be thrilled to find alongside the review. I guess I'll say that, right? Like, I don't think I'm giving it quote unquote extra points for it, but it
Yeah.
is something to note that this magazine is targeting a niche. It's targeting an audience. I think it's killing it. I think, this is probably some significant percentage of this magazine buyers' favorite issue that they ever got of this magazine.
Right.
Because
Somebody's
Melee
like,
was their
yes.
favorite game and this was their Bible for it. Right?
Right.
Like this set of pages is as worn and faded as our copies of Game
Yeah.
Players 75 or whatever, the one with Chrono
Yeah.
Trigger in it and the review of Chrono Trigger, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's all great. Ultimately they landed in the right spot. Phil Theobald got there, right? It's A+. It's the highest score, and for all the caveats and couching and everything else, they got there. I'm still leaning. I'm gonna say 7 Jigglypuffs out of 10.
Okay.
And I'm like kind of struggling to get there. I'm leaning more towards 6.5 because ultimately, if I just had this one page in any other magazine and it's like, this is the review of Melee.
Yeah.
We don't get screenshots of gameplay. We don't get, dude, there's a bunch of stuff we don't get. Right? Like man, 6.5 might even be generous. I'm going to stay at 6.5. 6.5
Okay.
final answer.
6.5 Jigglypuffs. I just I cannot reconcile some of the superlative language in here with some of the other couching and equivocation. I keep using those words, but they're the ones that I just are started eating at me. Like, you can't talk about playing this game forever and calling that being exactly right.
That's
about
the
people
kicker.
playing this game
Get
forever.
this game, grab some friends, and you're in very serious danger of playing this game forever.
Yeah, Phil's right.
Yeah,
but he doesn't believe it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Or he can't believe that he believes
He can't believe it. Or he lacks the confidence to say it. Own it. And that bugs me. I don't like that. I'm gonna go 40% out of 100% for this review.
Oh,
I think
stocks. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
So 4 out of 10 for me. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Good. I love it. I love it.
I was disappointed. I had high hopes for this one. I love Phil's work. I love Player One Podcast, but this one I think was a tough one.
Man, wow! Lots of food for thought. Incredible stuff. That is our review of GameNow's review of Super Smash Bros. Melee. Did we get it right? Make sure you leave a comment on YouTube. Make sure you leave a rating or review. Make sure you join our Discord. Go to funfactorpod.com. The link is right there. The sign up widget to become a member of FunFactor Ultra is right there, where you could have been on this stream, chopping it up with us in the chat, like Quabile, like Darren, Darren Hupke, like other people, like lots of members and friends of the show, people who've worked on these magazines, people who read these magazines, people who are writing for magazines or their equivalent now are in that chat. People who are making some of your favorite podcasts, some of our favorite podcasts are in our Discord. And we can talk about all this all day long because this is what we like to do and we want you to be a part of it. Just go to funfactorpod.com. Engage with us. We will engage with you back. It'll be cool. Meanwhile, we will continue to drop new episodes every 2 weeks, plus monthly bonus episodes for our FunFactor Ultra subscribers. Just go to funfactorpod.com, sign up. I promise, if you do, you and we will have a maximum score in FunFactor.